Hello design lovers, it's Ashley Childers, and today I am covering all things art and wall decor, including my luxury designer tricks for choosing art, picking the perfect frame, and hanging art in your home. These are my tried and true tricks for creating beautiful and sophisticated wall displays. Everything I'm sharing today is really good, so I want you to stick around for the entire video and let me know in the comments if you have any questions that I don't cover, because I want to make sure that you feel totally comfortable choosing art for your home. I know you're gonna love today's video, so be sure you hit the subscribe button so you can get more weekly design goodness as we drop a new video every Saturday. Before we get into how to choose the right pieces of art and wall decor for your home, I want to go through very quickly the different categories that you have to choose from. There's canvas art, art prints, photography, sculpture, mirrors, and found objects. These can be original works of art by an artist, reproduction pieces, or even antique or vintage finds. My tip is to mix all of these different types of wall decor pieces together in your home for an interesting look. Before I take you through my home and show you those various categories of wall art that I have on my walls and how to hang them, I want to take you to my favorite local framing shop so I can walk you through different types of frames and mats and fillets and all the options that are out there, and show you how I choose frames and mats for artwork for myself and my clients. We are at one of my favorite local frame shops and art galleries. We're here to pick up one of my original art pieces that I am having framed here, and I thought this would be a really good chance to show you how I choose custom framing and mats and liners and fillets for projects that I'm doing for clients and also for my own home. So let's go see. Okay, so we're here in the frame shop and I want to go through a couple of options with you when it comes to custom framing. First of all, I always like to opt for an 8-ply mat, and I'm going to show you the difference. So these mats right here are 8-ply, and that is the thickness of the mat, and you'll see when you choose an 8-ply, you get this really pretty beveled edge. Makes the artwork look a lot nicer, a lot more sophisticated and high-end. This is a 4-ply mat, and it almost just kind of looks like cardboard. It's very thin, you don't get the bevel. So if you have the option to choose the thickness of your mat, always go with 8-ply. And I wanna show you also all of the different whites that these 8-ply mats come in. Look at all those colors. So take your piece of art into the frame shop with you and look to see what white matches. If you're gonna go with white, I always honestly lean towards white, generally a version of white when I'm framing original artwork, because I think it looks more gallery style, and I personally just like it, but there's lots of color options when it comes to white mats. So make sure you take your piece of artwork and you look at it with the mat. Also, I want to show you these. These are custom wrapped linen mats, and I have several pieces in my home that have linen mats, and I'm going to show you that later, but I just think it's a really beautiful, artful way to frame a piece of art. Okay, before we move on to looking at frame options and how I choose frames, I want to show you one other way that you can mat your artwork, and this is actually called a liner, and I love it because a lot of times they are covered in linen and it fits into the frame like this. Usually you use these when you're framing like a piece of canvas art. You could do it just like that, or you could also add another layer called a fillet. This is a fillet, and it slips into the liner like this. So look how beautiful that looks. It creates a really sophisticated framing option for your artwork. Okay, so now let's talk about actual frames. So all of these frame options that I have on the table, with the exception of one of them, are wooden frames, and I always like to choose wooden frames over composite frames because they are much higher quality and they are going to last a lifetime. You can always tell if a frame is wooden when you look at the cross section of it. So obviously you see that this is a wood frame, it's got the wood grain. Now there are some decorative frames like this one that have a relief detail, and you'll see that the frame itself is wood, but there's a slight bit of composite on top of it so that they can create this detail on the face of the frame without hand carving it. It would be super expensive if it was hand carved. But I love the detail of this, and that little bit of composite is how you achieve that detail. All of these frames can be used for either print art or canvas art, but this one in particular, if you'll look at it, this is called a floater frame. And this is used when you have a canvas that you want to float. It actually gets attached from the back, and you have a little relief around the canvas in between the frame and the canvas. Also, there are metal frame options. I usually don't go with metal, but that is an option as well. And all of these frames are really beautiful. There's some beautiful finishes. We just got told that this is called water gilding. This is a water gilded finish. It's really beautiful, and it's handcrafted in Italy. Okay, so we are done at the frame shop. I have picked up my piece of art, and we're going to head back to the house, and I'm going to show you some of my personal favorite pieces of art and wall decor and how I hung them. But first, we're going to stop off at a vintage store, and I'm going to show you how I shop for art and wall decor for my clients and myself. We have made our way inside the shop, and the very first thing I spotted were these two beautiful original pieces of art on canvas, and they've got really great frames as well. That's always something I look for when I'm buying vintage, and they're original, so that's a bonus. So good frame and an original piece of artwork. I love these. The colors are gorgeous. I would love to purchase these for myself actually, or a client. Okay, we've literally walked like 5 steps over in the shop, and I spotted this gorgeous piece as well. So this is another original piece of art on canvas, and I actually like how this one is not framed. I would probably just honestly either hang this as is unframed or prop it up maybe in another like wall grouping on a console table or something like that in front of a mirror. I love the colors of it, and it's just a really beautiful original piece of vintage art. I could not pass this piece by because from afar it looks like a painting, but this is actually all stitched like crewel work. This whole entire little landscape is made from little threads. This is just, honestly, you can't find that like in the mass market today. This is a really cool piece that would bring a lot of just uniqueness to a room. Okay, I want to show you this area. This is something you never want to pass up when you come into an antique or vintage store, because there's so much great art, usually in these little plastic sleeves. I love to thumb through and kind of see all of the different options and just quickly, like, look how cute those little birds are. That would be so cute. There's a whole like grouping of birds that you could do. Over here, I don't know what that, I think it's a beehive. Look at the beehive. That's adorable. And all kinds of things. I have found antique love letters this way. I have found a really incredible vintage postcards from Paris, looking through little stacks of art like this. Oh, look at this guy. That is a signed sketch. How cute is he? So never pass this up. Whenever you see stacks of prints or sketches in plastic at a vintage or antique store, make sure you take a look. We have made it around the horn, and I wanted to show you this sweet little piece of art that I'm actually going to purchase and take home and add to a gallery wall at my home. Okay, so really quickly before we go back to my house and I show you just some of the art that I have at my house to get you inspired to choose beautiful art and wall decor for your home, I wanted to show you this, and I just kind of want to spark some creativity. This is a piece of petrified wood, and something like this would be amazing in a gallery wall or just as a piece of standalone art on your wall. You don't always have to choose framed prints or canvases. Art can come in this kind of form as well. Okay, let's talk through this little art vignette that I have in my entry. First of all, I want to discuss how to hang art above a chest or buffet or a piece of furniture. This chest is a part of my collection. It's 34 inches high, which is pretty standard for a chest. Usually they're like 32 to 34 inches high. No matter the height, our rule of thumb for hanging a piece of artwork or a mirror over a piece of furniture is generally that the space between the top of the piece of the furniture and the bottom of the frame is anywhere between 6 to 10 inches. This one I think is like right at 9.5 inches, and I'll tell you, yeah, 9 3/4. So I'll tell you why I went on the high end this time. I did that because I have this other piece of art on top of the tabletop frame, and I really wanted to make sure that the subject matter of this piece of art could be seen above this frame. So that kind of just creates the continuity that I wanted. If I had dropped this down, this frame would have covered up the butterflies, and I didn't want to do that. So let's talk about this piece of art. I love to display art in a way that is unexpected. And I actually designed this tabletop easel. It's part of my furniture and lighting collection. And I love it because it gives another opportunity to display a piece of art that's really unexpected. And at night we turn this on and it illuminates this piece of art. This is actually an antique letter. So when I took you to the vintage shop and showed you me thumbing through all of those pieces of art and postcards or whatever that were in the plastic sleeves, that is actually how I found this letter. I found a whole set of them and they're beautiful. I have 10 of them actually in our home, so in various spots. And I love how it just brings such a uniqueness to this whole vignette. I framed it in a way that you could see kind of the ripped edges and just the charm of this letter. It makes a really unique statement, and I always have people ask about it and compliment me on this piece of art when they come into our home. Lastly, I stacked a second piece of art above the butterflies. This is a really pretty piece that I bought, gosh, it's probably been 10 years ago. It's all of these butterflies, and I love how it picks up light as it streams into this room. And then above, that's actually an original piece of art that I painted that's on a canvas, but I framed it in a way that it is behind a mat. So you have that continuity of the white mats on the top and bottom. And these are the 8-ply mats that I spoke to earlier. They are very thick and it just gives the art so much substance and it looks like it's supposed to be in a gallery. One more thing I want to mention about this art display is that I took it really high. I stacked this second piece of art on top of this already pretty large piece because the ceilings in this area of the home are 10 foot, so we've got the height on the wall. And if I just had this piece here alone, it would feel honestly a little bit naked up there. So I love stacking two pieces of art that are different, but have some commonality through the color of the blues that are picked up. And then I just wanted to show you really quickly what this looks like turned on. So this is the tabletop easel that I was speaking to, and it might be a little bit difficult for you to see, but that illuminates it at night, and I just love the statement that it makes in our entry. We have moved over to the other side of my foyer, and I want to show you this piece of art because this is commonly a difficult area to hang art because of the asymmetrical shape of this wall, but because this is a square piece of art, it works really well in this space. This is also a unique piece. It ties into the butterflies and the original piece of art that I have on the other wall because it picks up those blue colors that are in it. But this is actually a scarf that I purchased on a trip with my daughter to London, and it means a lot to me. I love that it's in my entry. I see it every single day when I walk by. I had it custom framed because it's a little bit, I mean, I wouldn't want to frame a scarf on my own because they actually stitch the scarf onto the paper backing, and you can see the edge of the scarf, which I love. I think it's really beautifully framed. I chose this champagne color with a reverse bevel. It picks up the color in the artwork, and then the edges of the frame have like a cerused oak wood finish that ties into some of the furniture pieces that I have in our great room. We have moved into my dining room, and I wanted to show you a couple of kind of unique wall decor options that I have displayed in our dining room. First of all, these chains, I know we've actually gotten some comments about these chains on our YouTube video. Either you love them or you hate them, but actually they're one of the very best sellers in my collection. Usually people display them on a tabletop, but I wanted to do something unique in this room, so I actually purchased some vintage hooks and hung them on the wall, and it really makes a very modern and unique statement, and I actually just love the look of this. So think outside of the box when you are decorating your walls. You don't have to always just have a piece of art or a mirror. You can do something really unique and unexpected. When we move over to this piece of art, this is a really large piece, and sometimes I just want the casualness of a propped piece of art. And so I literally just propped this up on top of our buffet, didn't hang it or anything. And I like kind of that casual vibe that it brings to our formal dining room. Now, if I was going to hang this piece of art or any piece of art in this room, I would need to go about it in a little bit of a different way because there is raised panel molding in this room. A lot of you have questions about how to hang artwork or mirrors on top of raised panel molding, and I'm going to show you the trick. So, you see, I've got some depth here that I have to take into consideration. So the way that you would do this is cut a piece of wood that is the same, you know, you want to make sure that the thickness is the same as the highest point of your panel molding. And then you would simply attach it to whatever section of the wall, say it was going to be behind here, or if I wanted to hang something right here, over here, so that you have a solid surface all the way across. Then you can attach your hanging mechanism to the piece of wood. That is the easiest way to do it, honestly, and it works every single time. We are in our kitchen and family room area, and this is probably a wall of my home that you haven't seen before. I don't think we've ever filmed this, but this is where we hang out and watch TV, and I wanted to show you this wall because it's a really good way to dress up a TV wall. I always like to suggest doing either an art grid or a gallery wall if you have a TV that is out in the open in your home. And I think that creating this grid on this wall just dressed up this area. I actually had this as a gallery wall when we moved in, and I painted this series of watercolors and loved how they looked hung together as a collection, so I just decided to hang them around the TV. This is super easy to do, it's very affordable, and it's a way to make a TV wall in your home look artful and sophisticated. Let's take a minute to discuss large scale artwork. So this is a really beautiful art print that I purchased. It's probably been 5 or so years ago. It's a photograph, and I love the colors of it, and I want to talk about scale. So this is a large piece. It's over a buffet, and my suggestion is to always go at least 2/3 the width of the buffet or the credenza or the sofa if you want to do a large single piece of art. If you go a lot smaller than that in like comparison to the piece of furniture, sometimes it looks a little bit dinky. Before I hung this large piece of art up here, I actually had a mirror, and it was a lot more narrow than this piece of art. And then so I flanked it with 4 pieces of art on each side, so it filled this space. But when you're looking at a large scale piece, you can get away with a single piece of art as long as it's at least 2/3 the width of the piece of furniture that it's over. Now, let's discuss how high I hung it off of the top of this buffet. So, as I spoke to earlier, usually my range is anywhere between 6 to 10 inches, and it just kind of depends on what I'm displaying on the tabletop. But this piece, I believe, is around 6 inches off of the top of the buffet. Yeah, 6.5, and it looks really good. Sometimes I just have to eyeball it, but general rule of thumb is 6 to 10 inches. Now let's move over here, and I wanna show you a piece of wall decor that I have in my home that's probably, out of everything hung on my walls in my home, this is probably my very favorite piece. It is so unique and unexpected. I actually found this at the antique store that I took you guys to earlier, and I audibly gasped when I saw this in the store. I could not take it up to the register fast enough. I just knew it would look so amazing on the white walls in my home. It is copper and has this beautiful patina. We just hung it with a couple of nails, and it literally looks like it is just floating on the wall. It adds a ton of interest to this little corner, and because it has a lot of depth and texture, it is just a really unique piece of art. We are now in my primary bedroom, and I want to talk about how to choose and hang art on darker walls. So these walls are like a mocha color, and I chose these pieces of art for in this room because they have this really large white mat, and I love how it pops off of the mocha colored walls. When you are hanging a piece of art or multiple pieces of art on a wall that does not have a piece of furniture underneath it, a good rule of thumb is to hang the center of the art or the center of the two pieces of art around 60 inches from the floor. A lot of times I see people make the mistake of hanging artwork too low or too high. So 60 inches from the ground is a really good starting point for either the center of a large piece of art or the center of two pieces of art like this. Before we talk about this art vignette, I want to discuss how to source artwork for your home. My choice is to always purchase original artwork. I love supporting local artists, and I love buying original artwork when I travel. I think that original artwork adds so much soul to a room and just adds a layer of personal touch to your spaces. So always choose original when you can. A great way to find affordable original art is vintage stores and antique shops. I love buying vintage. I think it just adds another layer of character on top of the original artwork. So let's dive into this little art vignette. This is a wall in our great room, and I wanted to create a feminine little moment over here. And I did so by adding these two pieces of art and pairing them with this antique sculpture and this sweet little lamp from my collection. The artwork is interesting because there's different subject matter. This is a vintage postcard, and this is an original watercolor. I framed this original watercolor kind of in a unique way. I actually had the edges left open so you can see the deckled edge and you can kind of see the smudges. This is an older piece of art, and I wanted to show that character on the edges. And both pieces are matted in that thick white mat, so it adds continuity to the two pieces. Also, they're both framed in gold frames, but the frames are not the same. We don't always want to be matchy-matchy, so I like that there's some differences in the frame sizes and a slight difference in the gold color on the frames. So we have talked about how to choose framing for your artwork, how to source artwork at vintage stores. I've taken you through my home and shown you wall decor and artwork that I have and given you pro tips on how to hang art. I want to talk about gallery walls and some do-it-yourself projects to bring beautiful artwork to your home. So first, I want to show you this little vintage frame that I scored at a local shop. This was like, I think it was like $12. It's really cool because it's got a beautiful patina on it. And I want to show you how I'm going to turn this $10 find into something beautiful for my walls. So I got this mat at a local art store, and it's that thick mat that I was talking about, so it's going to look really good. And then also I've got this little, I think it's actually from a book. Turtles are my favorite animals, so it's just a little turtle etching, and it's got this really pretty patina on the paper because it's old. So I'm just gonna add this to the back of my mat. And when you're doing this at home, make sure that you use archival tape when you're taping your artwork to the back of a mat. It's not gonna have any acid in it. It's going to preserve your artwork. Even if it's just a vintage page or a vintage postcard, we still want to preserve the artwork. So I've got that on there, and I'm just going to slip it into the frame, and you're going to see how beautiful it looks. And then there you have it, y'all. Look at how cute that looks. Postcard, I think, was like $5, and my frame was like $5 or $10, like under $20. Look how good that looks. It's going to add so much character to your wall. Okay, now then let's discuss a couple of tips on how to hang artwork, how to make it easier for yourself when you hang artwork, and how to hang a gallery wall. So this is the little painting that we picked up at the vintage shop earlier, and I'm going to show you a pro tip on how to hang artwork. First of all, I always like to, especially when I'm doing a gallery wall, I like to make a little paper template of the piece of artwork. So I just lay it on, I usually use black paper, or you could use craft paper, whatever, shows up on your wall. Take your pencil, mark around the piece of art. Easy peasy. I'm gonna cut that out. It's the exact size as my frame. Okay, we've got our piece of paper. Now, this is where it gets good, y'all. Take your piece of art, turn it over. See, this piece of art has this little type of hanging mechanism on the back. It doesn't matter what type of hanging mechanism, this works for everything. So take your template that you just made, lay it on the back of your art, line it up with the corners, and then mark your hanger. So when you go to hang your piece of artwork on the wall, you're gonna know exactly where the hanger is when you tape this up onto the wall. So now that we've made the template for our artwork that's the exact size and marked our little hole where the hanger is, I always like to put the name of the artwork on the template so I know what it is when I'm hanging it on the gallery wall. I want to show you a few things that you're going to need when you're hanging artwork, a gallery style, or just a piece of art in itself. I always like to have a little level, hammer, of course, painter's tape. This is gonna come in handy, and I'll show you why in a minute. A pencil, and then I've got just like a little plastic container of different types of art hangers. One last pro tip before we go hang our gallery wall is you can use this template idea, like this way of hanging art, on pieces that are not just framed artwork. So I've got this little Italian mirror that I want to use in the gallery wall, and I made a template of it as well. So then when I'm laying my gallery wall out on the wall, I can have this little template and tape it up and make sure that I like the layout of everything before I start putting the hangers in the wall. Okay, let's go hang our gallery wall. We are back in my entry, and this is the wall that I am going to create the gallery wall on. And I wanted to use this wall as an example today because it has light switches, and I'm going to show you that you can easily create a gallery wall around light switches. My favorite thing to do when I am creating a gallery wall is lay all of the pieces of art out on the floor so I can look and see what they look like as a whole. Also on this gallery wall, I am doing a grouping of landscapes and florals. I just like the way that there's a little bit of cohesiveness in the subject matter, and all of the pieces look really good together. Also, I'm adding in a couple of antique mirrors and a little mirror from my collection because I don't want everything to be framed art in this gallery wall. So we have got all the artwork laid out. I may not use every single piece, but I've got a lot of options on the floor and kind of an idea of how I want them grouped together. And we're going to start putting our paper templates on the wall so we can see kind of how the layout is gonna work on the wall. So I'm going to start with the largest piece first, a little higher than that. And I've just got that blue painter's tape on the back of my templates so I can move them around easily. And there's our starting point for our gallery wall. So I have got all of the paper templates up on the wall, and I've laid the composition out as far as the shapes go in a way that I think it looks really good. And then I took that composition and laid the artwork out on the floor to make sure that I had the frames in the areas that I wanted them to be, because I've got some gold frames and I've got some black frames, and then of course the vintage mirrors and the mirror from my collection. And I really like the composition, so now it is time to start hanging the artwork. Since we've got the paper templates on the wall and all of our paper templates have the mark for where the hanging mechanism is on the back of the artwork, it's really easy. All I have to do is go in and put my hangers up. I'm literally going to just hammer this wall hanger on top of the paper and then just rip the paper off behind it, so I know that the hanger is in the exact right spot. There it is. Now, let me show you how easy this is. We just take the piece of paper and we literally just rip it off the wall. Okay friends, there you have it. Our gallery wall is complete, and I love how it turned out. I did move some things around as I was placing the paper templates on the wall, and that's the beauty about using the paper templates. It really gives you the opportunity to see how the composition is going to turn out. And if you'll notice, I kind of interspersed the mirrors up here and down here. I've got the black frames kind of at opposing sides, and then of course the gold frames. I also mixed different mediums in this gallery wall. We've got some really beautiful oil on canvas. I've got a piece on paper over here, and then of course the mirrors add in a lot of interest. I hope that walking through how to do a gallery wall with me will inspire you to create a beautiful gallery wall in your home. I hope that you enjoyed today's video and that it gets you inspired to find beautiful artwork and wall decor for your home. If you loved today's video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and let me know in the comments which tip was your favorite. If you love all things design, be sure to follow us over on TikTok and Instagram at Ashley Childers Home so you can get a little sneak peek into all of my daily design adventures. And if you want even more designer tips and tricks, you're going to want to watch this playlist next. As always, I'm Ashley Childers. Thank you for watching, and remember, good design is for everyone. So create a home that inspires you, have fun decorating your walls, and fall in love with where you live, one room at a time.